What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Crushing Small Stakes PLO. We are playing PLO 100 on Ignition and jumping straight into the action here with 4 tables. And turning a boat on the top right, Snapchat back and blocking the spades. I did trap this guy earlier in the session, so I think I'm just going to lead out and just start building a pot. Likely going to see a lot of folds, but I don't think he's going to take too many stabs based on prior hand that we played before the recording. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure that you subscribe. We will be putting out an episode almost every day this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And also, make sure you check out PLOpokercoaching.com, where we have plenty of in-depth articles going into various aspects of the game, and where you can also get a free poker coaching session. We will get you signed up and set up for that as well. Alright, ace, 8, 9, 10, double suited. This is a hand that if I do get 3-bet, I would potentially 4-bet. It's a good one to build in there. You're unblocking the kings and some of the high rundowns that may 3-bet you from the blinds, but you do still heavily block aces. And you can fold out some of those kings that will have a strong advantage against you. We didn't bet the turn here, so I'm not really wrapping much. Pair, open-ended, no diamond, 2 players on a very wet board. We will be stabbing here a decent amount, but I would like to have a diamond in order to do that. So we're just going to check back with some equity. And we're raising here in the blind to the small blind limp against a weaker player that we would like to build a pot with. Here, this is going to be a standard 3-bet. Well, this guy looks somewhat tight and reggish out of position, so we will be careful. Here on the turn, I am actually going to take a stab. There are quite a few boards that, quite a few rivers, non-diamond rivers that we can bet. And no one has really shown any interest in the pot yet. People usually play pretty straightforward. I will be betting full range here on this board. And actually, we could probably pot this board. The reason that we usually go for 1/3 sizing on these paired boards is that we don't necessarily have more nuts than our opponents on like a 7-7-6 board, but when it's like a deuce-deuce-5 board, our overpairs just become so much more nutted because there should be no deuces, pocket 5s really in this range. I'm going to call here with the backdoor flush draw and top pair. So we can actually size up on these boards, and so it could have potentially potted. And here we're just going to be folding to the turn bet with no hearts and basically no outs to any value. And we turn 2 pair here with the straight blocker. Oh, this guy's so short, I didn't even realize. Obviously we're never folding. Yeah, high frequency checkboard. In the sandwich 3-way. And we could actually take a stab here. I just feel like this guy is calling pretty light. You see me back give up, but we do block the turn pair, we block the straight. There are plenty of rivers that we can barrel, and obviously we can still make the nuts. It's not too bad if we get check raise, because then we really have extremely little equity. Here we have a gut shot, top pair, backdoor flush draw. I think that we have enough playability here to put this one into our check back range. Which allows us to defend these kinds of turn probes. He elects not to bet, and the question is, do we want to stab? We do have a club blocker. We don't necessarily need too much protection with straight draw blockers, and we do have equity against a 6 if he is slow playing, so I think we can just check back again here, and we will be calling the river. Snap bets pot, that's pretty interesting, but we obviously can't really fold. And we lost the minimum, which was nice. Just the nut boat. Pretty good flop on the bottom left. We will have more of a betting range on these high, low Broadway paired boards, given that, you know, kings and queens are in their range, but once we have 2 on the board, the removal effects are obviously quite a bit stronger. And given that this guy on the button is pretty passive, I don't think he's going to stab too much, and I think we can just bet and hope to get some value from a king or pocket pairs. Fortunately, it's just going to be very tough with that particular hand. Checked to me twice here on the turn. We don't have really much going on. But I am going to stab pretty aggressively in position. Once checked to twice in multi-way pots. Probably could have gone a bit smaller with this guy being short stacked. He is going to have a lot of check jamming still on the turn. But he doesn't really have much bluffing in his range at this stack size once we get to an SPR of like 3ish, so that is very much not a good call for us. So we are likely dead. The question is, do we want to bluff the ace river? We really just, like, when we think about his calling range on the turn with such a short stack, he can be slow playing a lot more, given that he doesn't need to raise it all. The low end draws get there. I mean, I just don't see him even, probably not even folding a king, to be honest. We will just check. Maybe we could have gotten to fold that hand. And we'll just fold. This was a very marginal open in the first place. I'm going to raise this up with the 2 weaker players in the pot. And here in a limp pot, we will just be check folding. Again, this is a pretty good hand to check call. We block the draws that can call us. There's no flush draws out there. This is obviously a hand that I usually want to raise, but against this 8% VPIP guy from under the gun, we're going to be running into a very strong range quite often. This is a turn that we could definitely be leading, but with this particular hand, feels a little bit weird to lead. And with a pair and an open ender, this is pretty marginal, but we will make the call. and just going to actually fold to the large bet over here, blocking draws that he could be potentially making that play with. And we could think about some ridiculous hero call here if we weren't blocking a lot of the straight draws on the turn. It just seems like quite a strange line, but blocking the Jack 10 Queen, the Jack King Queen, and the low straight, it's very likely that we're just beat. Wouldn't usually complete here from the small blind, but against this player I am going to get into the mix. And I think against some capped ranges, I am just going to pot. Again, the ultimate blank on the turn. We get snap called, so this is likely never a 6 from a timing tell standpoint. We do block the draws. I don't know what overpairs this guy is going to fold. He did overcall from the big blind. I just don't ever think he has a 6. I have no showdown value. Just question is, what does he limp at snap calls on the turn? Pocket pairs over a 10. And let's go for it. Let's see what he has. I think we're getting snapped off here. Do get it through. And just res with the aces. And we flop top 2 with the straight blocker. This guy's very passive. I'm playing quite a wide range. I think I do actually want to stab at this board, and I would probably just bet fold this hand against this particular player. But we just want to fold out like some weak flush draws that could be in his range. This offhand looks potentially promising to call, but at these reg structures, you really don't want to be cold calling out of a small blind and playing pots out of position. It's just going to be too hard for you to generate enough of an edge slash EV to beat the rake that is in play. So usually you want to kind of decide, is the hand good enough to 3-bet? If not, you should probably just fold it. There is obviously a small cold calling range in there, but that's a pretty good rule of thumb. I think with this hand, it does make a relatively good stab in position. However, we do have 3 overs to the board that are relatively clean, apart from the 10. So I am actually going to go ahead and check this one back. Also 10 a wrap, and with no diamond draw, I just think that there's a lot of hands that could check raise us here, and we have a lot of equity that we've been giving up. So I think it's a good spot to just check back again. And to the dollar bet, do I want to raise it? It's the question. We will have some flushes. And we do take it down. So we flop middle set with the nut blocker. It's whether we want to raise or call here. I kind of like calling. I don't know that he's going to overcall too much. I think that he's likely just going to jam or fold, and we're okay with that with a hand with pretty poor playability. And on this turn, I am just going to shove. Shouldn't have too much 3-5. We obviously have outs. He's likely re-raising queens, so probably has some sort of maybe queen X with diamond hand, although he's probably shoving that, to be honest. And I think we won some money there. I think this guy did have the 3-5 or whatever it was that we were worried about. Here again, we do have the pair blocker to potentially bet, but we have backdoor diamonds. Doesn't really seem like a hand that we want to start betting. Not the greatest turn. We can just continue to check back. And maybe we'll just check it down. Probably lose to two pair. Or the nuts. This is more of a board that I'm going to stab in position. We have pretty poor runouts, but it's pretty dry board, and you know there are a lot of good turns that we can barrel, and we can turn some strong hands too. Depending on which player raises here, we can defend this hand against the button, even though he is very tight. And likely just going to check fold the flop. These kings are probably good enough to cold call a raise. Obviously, if we had the nut, the king high suit, we can. But against this guy, he's playing a lot of hands and a late position raise, can call, and this guy is actually rebetting very wide. So it will be interesting if he decides to squeeze here as to whether we want to go over the top. Yeah, I mean, he can't be a big sample, but this feels like a pretty good spot to squeeze. This guy obviously doesn't have aces. This guy can have aces. It's whether or not we want to take a flop three-way. I think this is a good spot, just given that this guy has the 15 big blinds in already, and that this guy is squeezing most hands. That we can take a shot here. Obviously, if we get snap jammed, we're in pretty big trouble. Yeah, it's not great, but we're not folding now. And we lose to 9-7 on the river. For $180 pot, that is fun. I was like, wow, we flopped the 9s, but we actually even had the 9 covered and beat. So, yeah, I mean, the right read, the right play. Just unfortunate. We unblock all the pairs, the straight draws, in a four-way pot. I mean, it's just quite likely someone has something that they can continue with. So, we're gonna stab. But take it down. I mean, that was pretty wild. Queen 9, something, and just goes with it. Good guy to have at your table, for sure. And these hands look pretty tempting to call as well, once you get like this sort of price. But realistically, you're just going to be in situations where you're so dominated by the other 16 cards that are in the hand, right? Like, if you flop a set that's this low, there's a very good chance that you're going to get set over set. Your flush draws obviously can be completely dominated. And, you know, the straight draw potential here is pretty disconnected, so even though we're getting a good price, the reverse implied odds are pretty rough. ASI monoboards against wide ranges, I am pretty much betting any 4 cards and then giving up once called, just because the fold frequency on these boards is extremely high. And after I say that, I'm tempted to barrel again, but I think that we just shut it down. If the people are overfolding, they end up on the turn with much stronger ranges than they should have when they do actually call, and so then you have to really dial it back. Like, I don't think that this guy ever calls with like less than 2 pair or a flush on the flop in most case scenarios. So we get called on that occasion, but usually a very profitable spot to just stab a large portion of your range. Obviously it helps when you have a club. That's definitely not a GTO bet, but this one's an interesting one because it's going to play pretty well in a 3-bet pot, and this guy is limping in clearly one of the spots at the table. This guy is tighter and more reggish, who is likely going to be ISOing him a bit wider. So I will go for the 3-bet here. And I think with 2 backdoor flush draws on this board, blocking like some of the draws, that we just want to go ahead and pot and stack off with an SPR of less than 3. We'll fold out a lot of bad hands. We'll fold out some Queen X hands occasionally. not a hand that we really want to bet small with and induce any action. We're fine getting it in, and we obviously want to go big and take down the pot as much as possible. It's a little bit of a loose defend here, but flop a marginal hand, which is usually what happens when you call with a marginal hand. We'll have to check call one. This guy we have pretty little stats on. He's pretty nay, so he could still have a reasonably strong holding here, but we have some equity out of position, and that's not good. We block a lot of the draws, the straights, and do not have a pair blocker. So when I bet this river out of position, we'll get looked up even by hands like ace-queen without spades. So just going to give up here. And looks like he had a straight. And middle set here, no real backup. In a limped pot though. Like, rarely does anyone have kings. I do want to go ahead and bet on a pretty dry texture. I am going to stab this board here with a 9, a club, and a top pair blocker. My hand is going to be pretty worthless on most runouts, so no issues. Bet folding there. So the top pairing card, after we lead, an interesting one. This is a limp pot, so curious as to what you can have here. Potentially more draws. I'm just gonna bet small. I mean, we do have the 5 blocker, so we have to assume that our hand is pretty good a lot of the time here. And we do get raised, which is pretty gross. I mean, we heavily block. We heavily block the bad bolts, right? Question is, do we just want to shove if he has a hand like ace-king? Because we're going to be guessing on the river on cards like an ace, a jack, a 10. I think with the 5 blocker and unblocking some of the straights, I do just want to jam it in here. We are going to run into king 5, obviously, king queen sometimes. Unless we're getting slow rolled, it's pretty good. And we will obviously raise up the aces. Again, these kind of marginal hands are not particularly ones that you want to be overcalling with out of position. Could make an argument for it against this particular player. And we flop top set, nut flush draw, middle pair blocker. If there's ever a hand that you want to be checking back in terms of continuing ranges, this would be it. We do unblock the Broadway straight draws, we block the low straight draw. I'm actually going to check this one back. And obviously we get that 10. And the lead into 4 people. So unfortunate, but we obviously are never folding. I don't think that we want to raise here without a straight blocker and blocking one of our own outs. I'm just gonna call. We'll likely have to fold to a pot size bet, because there's really just no other hand that he can have. Like when we just block everything, like, he's not. No, we block hands like ace, jack, king with the king of spades. Like, we block pretty much every potential bluff. Or semi-bluff on the turn. And unfortunately, I think we do just have to fold. Does he ever just bet half pot though? Now I'm debating calling. Now I am debating calling. Just based on sizing. Yeah. Oh, such a fish. He got me with the half pot size bet. And we flop gut shot, second up, flush draw, middle pair. This is a board that I will struggle on often with my 3-betting range, so I actually don't mind check jamming a hand like this. And we will defend here, and ISO with the aces. This is a hand that we could lead, we could check raise. I'm actually gonna go for the lead. We do see the bet. And I mean, we may as well go pot size here. I don't think I'm ever folding. And we have the overpair and flush draw with a pretty large bet. And he is pretty short, and this guy's also short. I think that I do just want to jam here. We'll get called by pair and flush draws, which we're not doing terrible against. Our positional advantage becomes less when we call, just because the SPR is going to be so short on the turn. Even if we just call, it's 1 and a bit, so there's not going to be too many streets to play where he's going to be out of position, faced with tough decisions, so we just want to raise and potentially get it in against hands that we're ahead of and push out the equity of the guy behind us. Gut shot middle pair. Board is just way too connected, really, to bet into 4 people. We could potentially check call against 1 with the backdoor flush draw. Here, no straight blocker, no spade draw. I mean, pretty much giving up this hand. I was about to say a pretty good turn. I just saw the 9, but it is a club, and we have no club in our hand. And even on the deuce, I think we just want to fold. You know, just pretty much any river he can bluff us off our hand anyway, so. And we'll see how this hand plays out, and then we're probably going to wrap it up for the session today. Queen, queen, jack, 8. I'm just going to flat. Pot size bet on the top right, and we are just out, unfortunately. And going to be check folding the queens on the bottom right too. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. As I said, make sure you subscribe, as we're going to have a bunch of new content coming out. And also check out PLOpokercoaching.com. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and good luck at the tables out there.